Let's see. I think it's working. Oh, yeah, it is working. Okay. Let me check the audio. Sounds good. Where do I Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, give me like 1, 2 minutes. I'm pulling up the economic calendar and stuff, and then we'll get started. Let me share this link on Twitter as well. What's going on, guys? Any questions or anything before we get started? What's everyone up to? Damn. Let me crack, says Chris. All right, buddy. How big is it? Probably as big as the non-farm payroll candle. How about that one? He said, yo, BD packing. Okay, where's that little... Yo, what's up, King? Okay, yes, I do have the YouTube chat up. For real though, BD long or short? All right, we'll go ahead and get started here. So, see, if you didn't see the video from last week, I mean, last week played out to the T of what I was wanting to see. I mean, overall, we're still within this higher time frame range. I've been taking my attention to the weekly and monthly candles because you can see we've been ranging here a lot more. We're still within this monthly candles high to low. I am more of favoring, I'm wanting to see the low get taken out into this week. The only thing I don't like is the volume imbalance they're leaving here. But I'm thinking we still want to reach for this low here. See, here's the thing though. I feel like upside setups haven't been bad either, but if you're going to play longs, I would definitely be longing the ES. ES has been much stronger than NQ. You can see how much more it's holding up. It keeps making a new all-time high. So if you are to play a bullish setup, I definitely recommend taking it on ES over NQ. NQ's been much weaker. I think NQ is definitely the one to short. And I mean, really, into this week, that weekly volume imbalance here with this daily this daily order block, this is really my line in the sand. Kind of like how this weekly level was my key level last week. I'd like to see price really reach up into this order block here. And that's really going to be my key level on the week. Like, I think if we started breaking above the 50% of this order block, we're going to start to see more bullish setups back up through these highs. But I think as long as this order block respects, we're still diving for this low because I'm really looking at like our yearly power of 3. I was looking at these projections down. So I was looking at our high to low here. Because then I was also looking at our new February opening right here for our monthly power of 3. Because right here they opened February, this green candle. Monthly open. Ooh, let me make that smaller. So they opened the monthly open there, ran above it, hit our key level, um, formed some SMT, and we ran lower. And I'm looking at both projections here because I like how our 2 to 2.5 standard deviations are both aligning down here below this low. So I'm really wanting to see this area down here delivered. And I think that's going to be delivered as long as this daily order block is respected. I'm really watching that level up here. That's my key level, like that weekly wick was my level last week. I'm still favoring this move lower. Same thing with like our wick we gave last week. We gave a very nice wick here below on the weekly. This 50% will likely get delivered and can be a key level. I love using key levels like this because, I mean, I'm favoring the move for this low. So more than likely, once we snap the 50% of this wick, we're going to see that move down into this low. So you could use this as more of a key level here. I love using the 50% of these wicks as key levels. I mean, love using them as a draw on liquidity as well, but man, using them as a key level, I mean, you saw how it worked just last week, for example. But yeah, see, the thing that also makes me think we could see another early move up this week, I feel like they're going to want to test through these daily volume imbalances. My only thing is they don't need to technically reach higher this week because we have already reached back into premium, looking from our low to high here. So I'm still favoring this lower. I really want to see this low tagged because I feel like if we're going to form an upside setup, I think we at least want to take out this low so we could form a nice SMT. We have SMT above equilibrium too. Oh yeah, I see what you're talking about now. Yeah, we do. Because yeah, that daily candle, ES is above it. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I really want to see this run down. Same thing with how we saw like ES has made like two new all-time highs here. Like last week, it made another all-time high before we started moving down here. I'm definitely favoring more bearish than bullish. Like for me, I'm still going about price right now, as in I would rather let moves up happen to look for shorts. Like I'm fine sitting out moves to the upside right now. And if I was gonna play an upside move, it would be on ES. Because ES is just the much stronger asset. If you're gonna long, I would definitely long ES. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm favoring. But overall, looking intraday, I mean, this is also like what I like telling people in the Discord. You don't have to get too ahead of yourself and have just a set bias on the week. You don't have to always go into the week with that. There's so many weeks when I'm just going in with like a key level or two and I'm going from there. I'll want price to draw to my key level and I'll either play that move into my key level or I'll look to play the reaction. And you don't have to hold a bias of which way it should go off your key level. Because that's where a lot of people get stuck. Because they're wanting to see, they're thinking, oh, we need to see a rejection at this level, and then it starts breaking above, and then they're holding it, and they're like, oh, it's going to come back below, and then they just keep holding it. I don't know. It's just a mindset in this game, because that's what 90% of this game really is. But last week, I mean, looking at all your projections, you could have used like our midnight projections. We were expanding past our standard deviations each day. I mean, the only days we respected the standard deviations was here on Monday, 3.5 to 4, caught the high of week, which where was that also at? On the key level we had for the week, that daily, weekly wick, 50%. So it was right there within the standard deviation levels as well. And then on top of that, this high right here, NQ, failed to go above. ES, well above that same high. So right there was our SMT. into the standard deviation, into the key level. Bang. And then from there, that was high of week. So they gave the open high. So then from there, we were running down. And then again, each day we were expanding past the standard deviation. So we were a lot more one sided. And that's why you could anticipate us to continue. And then again, Thursday, we finally respected our midnight standard deviation again. And something else that was significant about by going into Thursday, we were respecting the standard deviation. Well, we had already hit all our downside targets on the week. We hit that weekly volume imbalance I marked out before the week started. We took out all these sell side liquidity pools down here that I was marking out. I wanted to see a straw into. So going into Thursday, we had already hit all my draws on liquidity, any of my main targets. We filled the daily volume imbalance. We're respecting the standard deviation now. And then also thinking in terms of weekly power of 3, we're more likely to get the retrace up to close the week. So there was many reasons why I was bullish on Friday. And again, looking at the daily, I mean, I talk about volume imbalances and I keep bringing that level up so much because they are magnets for price. I mean, look, we went right back up to a daily volume imbalance. Some of my favorite higher time frame levels to use. That's what I'm saying, like, that's why I don't really like this weekly one they left here. And since I'm live here on YouTube and for everyone again, I'll just talk about it. Look at these weekly candles, man. This is brutal. This has been some brutal accumulation here to start the year. I mean, I think it's only just building up for a bigger move here to come. Like we're just building up for a yearly move coming. But I mean, it's nothing out of the ordinary really, but again, if you've been struggling these past few weeks, this is the exact things you need to notice and just avoid because I mean, I've been avoiding a lot of this price action while we've just been sitting here ranging back and forth. I will say these last 2 weeks have been a little bit more clean because they finally gave us a key level to work with, being that 50% of that big ass wick up here. But other than that, they really haven't gave us a whole lot of key levels to use in here, but I'm kind of wanting to see like, yeah, this order block and this be used as a breaker right here to send us lower again. I'm favoring more of this low into this week. But I will say, economic calendar, we got some big reports this week. I'm poor. I can't avoid it these days. Well, I mean, if I'm being honest, that is when things started to turn around for me in the beginning of my trading. Whenever I didn't have much capital either, starting to build up, mine started to turn around and I really started to get on the growth curve once I stopped taking less trades. Whenever I started to avoid those setups that made less sense. Once I started to just focus on higher probability setups, ones that made sense to me, ones that just like last week, whenever I have a key level and I let price come to me. Because if you noticed in that video I shared, so talking about this move down. So I was pretty confident in the move down last week into these lows and that volume imbalance. But I talked about when we were right here, if they just took it straight down into the lows before going up and hitting that key level, I wasn't interested. I wouldn't have cared about that downside move. Okay, but since they went up and hit my key level, we had SMT, we hit the standard deviation levels. That's high probability to me. But if they just took it down while we're sitting here ranging on the weekly chart, we didn't hit any key levels, we're not hitting any standard deviation, like that's not high probability to me. I would have no problem sitting that out and waiting for something that looks much better to me. But like I said, not all people can sit on their hands, but man. Morning, you beautiful fellas. What's good, Dan? Um, Given ES is the stronger asset now that it's near the highs, doesn't that make it more suspect as to a quick reversal? Um, in a sense, it could, but I feel like it's still better to short NQ because NQ is going to be the weaker asset. If ES is the one making the new all-time highs, I would rather short NQ because NQ is likely going to be more aggressive to the downside if we see those downside moves. Bro, Andy. Good morning, NASDAQ. But yeah, we got some big reports this week though. We got NFP on Wednesday and CPI on Friday. Damn. So we could honestly see a slower start here to the week. Like, it would not surprise me if like they made the main moves for like today and tomorrow around the 9:30 open. That really wouldn't surprise me. And then they keep, yeah, because I mean we have non-farm payroll Wednesday and CPI on Friday. They usually don't give them the same week, but I feel like our main movement this week is going to be the second half of the week with those reports we got. We don't have anything this morning. I'm really not expecting, or I really don't have the highest expectations today. If I had to say in a perfect world, they would give something like today as like a little bit of accumulation, maybe kept us around here in this area. And then tomorrow into Wednesday, maybe see that manipulation up into the key level. And if we're seeing all of that align, like by then we'll have more of our standard deviation to use. So if we're hitting standard deviation levels up there into the key level as well, and we're seeing SMT, because again, ES has been much stronger, so it's likely it could swipe the all-time high again, and NQ just reaches up into this key level. And if that happens, can look for the downside move from there. That's what I would be looking at. But again, if we start breaking above this order block, I have no problem dropping the bearish bias and looking for these highs now, because I don't think it's a good idea to just hold one bias in this range right here we've had. I think it's good to use your key levels and be ready for either side. I do favor the downside still right now though. But that's like my line in the sand right here, that order block. If we're going lower, I really don't want to see us go above that. Because, yeah, I mean, just comparing them, we've been very offset. ES has been making new all-time highs. NQ is about to take out this range low. ES is nowhere near the range low, so I'd really like to see NQ reach for that range low. Why order block and not the breaker? Well, I'm looking at the breaker as well. The order block's just kind of there inside the breaker. Um, just trying to get a little more accurate with it. I mean, they're both right there. Because, yeah, I mean, if you're really marking out the breaker, it's technically both of these red candles here because they're in a row. And that's a big range. That's a big range for a breaker. So I'm kind of just like, that's why I'm kind of just like dialing it down more to just the order block there, if that makes sense. What are your thoughts on, I think that's sequential SMT? I personally didn't find anything that crazy with it. I did look into his theory in the beginning, and I do kind of base the times I trade off of it, as in within his quarterly theory, but I didn't really find much significance in the sequential SMT or many other things. Like the only thing I really took away from Day's theory is I do trade around some of the times he talks about, because I have noticed, like, so for example, my trading just takes place between 1:30 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. and then 7:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Because typically between those two 3-hour like sessions, that's where you're seeing the most movement within the day. So that's really where I try to focus my trading. Once we get past 11, I really don't care for price. I could care less what we do the rest of the day. Once we get after 11, I'm pretty much just getting prepared for the next day. I could care less after 11. Because I don't know, once we get past 11, I just feel like a lot of times price starts getting a little bit more sloppy. I'm not a big fan of the lunchtime price action, which I mean, there's people that love trading it, and by all means, go for it. But in my opinion, I would so much rather trade around the London Open or the New York Open because I feel like you can just so much better. Like, whenever you can see manipulation in play before the Open, oh, those are some of my favorite setups because then you can enter off the Open. And speaking of entering off the Open, this kind of pissed me off this week because Trade of Eight absolutely screwed us. Which day was it? Trade of Eight was down. I think it was Wednesday, right? It was the all I know is it was the day we traded into the lows in my targets here. Yeah, so Wednesday. Bro, Trade of Eight was down Wednesday. We saw everything we needed to here to short. Look at this shit. So I mean, this was after Tuesday pretty much confirmed we were bearish because I marked out the weekly level. I personally didn't short on Tuesday because I was letting them just react at my weekly level first and then I was going to play the continuation the next day, or if we broke above, play that continuation the next day. So again, going off my key levels. So we rejected. So then it was clear we were bearish into the next day. So what am I looking for then? Well, we have our midnight open, manipulated above. And so look at the second run here. ES runs up, makes a new high of night. So we have our SMT at high of night above midnight. Okay. And then not only that, we're also manipulating the yearly open right there. And yeah, I mean, the manipulation here was in play before 9:30. So then going into the 9:30 open, this was the day I was ready to short off the open. And then as I was trying to log in before market open, Trade of Eight was like, nope, you're not logging in today. Not today. Yeah, Trade of Eight was down, so couldn't quite catch that short. Have you noticed if you catch London's highs or lows, you can take it to New York AM? Yeah, there's definitely times, yeah. Especially if you catch it like when the London Open's used as manipulation a lot of times, yeah, you can usually get those holders into the morning. I hate switching charts to check for SMT. I mean, I don't know, I feel like it ain't that bad. You can just switch between time frames so quick. Who's VD talking to? Oh no, yeah, I'm live on YouTube as well. I'm actually just making up all these comments. I'm just talking to myself. Um, like I said, I mean, I've kind of really went over the stuff I wanted to for the charts here, kind of what I want to see into this week. I'm favoring the downside idea. That daily order block's really my line in the sand. I mean, I'm kind of just, I mean, I'll stay on here till 9:30. I'm gonna hop off here at the market open, but I'm still, I mean, I'll be on here answering questions or anything until then. So if you got any, shoot them now. What are some of your favorite entries that you notice are strong based off your data? Um, well, like I said, so I'm I'm more of always trying to put myself in the highest probability condition. So, while on Monday, this was a good upside setup. Like, don't get me wrong, there's people that definitely could have taken longs using my model trading the that upside move. But personally, just now where I'm at within my journey, I don't care to play these upside moves because it wasn't aligning with what I wanted to see on the week, and that's why I was interested in the downside move. So I was whenever I have a higher time frame bias, I typically let those moves in the other direction happen so that I can find those better entries. So like that, it's little things like that, letting price come to you in your key levels before entering. So going into the week, we were down here. I wanted to see a straw into these lows. And I talked about it. If they just went straight down into the lows, I could care less. I would let that move happen. But if we saw the move up into my key levels, something like that is a lot more high probability. And then whenever you also take into account we hit the standard deviation levels here at the high and formed SMT, we had everything we needed there for a high probability entry. So then from there, it doesn't matter what you're entering on. You could have been entering into the SMT. You could have waited and entered off the first inverse fair value gap. You could have entered off the breaker up there. Any of those would have worked. To me, it comes back to the logic. It comes back to the logic of the higher time frame. Are we going towards a higher time frame draw on liquidity? Have we hit our standard deviation levels? Is there SMT? It pretty much comes back to those three things always for me if it's going to be a high probability trade. Why don't you drop trade recaps? I want to start doing that more this year because, like I said, I'm gonna start posting a lot more on YouTube this year. I'll probably start doing that. I don't know if I'll do them daily or maybe just do them like end of week, but I do want to start doing that. I feel like I've done them in the past, but I feel like I stopped because I really just hate editing videos, if I'm being honest. But I've gotten a little better about it. My thoughts on silver, I don't ever trade commodities or metals personally, but I'll take a look at like GC and shit. I know they've been going crazy, haven't they? Damn. Wait, wait, damn, those weekly candles are fucking massive. I knew volatility was up in freaking metals, but sheesh. Didn't a lot of didn't a lot of props restrict trading on these because of the volatility? A lot of manipulation going on? Oh, for sure. Every prop except Tradeify. That that's pretty wild. Is your WAP a course for your strat? I mean, the WAP, I mean, yeah, I have two courses on there, but it's more for like we're just going each day, each week, just reading price, going about it, and you can just see how I'm doing it live, kind of like how I'm doing it here. I mean, this is what I'm doing every week. And same thing, just sharing my analysis each day. And again, I mean, this left two massive wicks. I mean, this has been bullish higher time frame, so it's safer to assume we trade to this upper wick first, honestly, on gold. What's silver's ticker? Is it SI? Yeah, okay. Because I don't ever look at silver, but oh, like I said, I'm not a big commodities or metals trader, but if I had to guess, if I had to say, I'm bullish on this. Looking like we're forming an SMT here at the low. We have that upper weekly wick. Silver doesn't look as pretty as gold, I ain't gonna lie. If I was gonna long, I feel like I would rather long gold. Where's the WAP? Yeah, if you go to my Twitter, the link should be on there. Because I even have it like just so people join the free Discord through there, just because A lot of times it helps just keep some of like the bots out of the Discord that just like spam shit. So, um, what we get in it, yeah, Alex, I did just explain it, but I have two courses already in there, and then you're getting like I have the pre-week analysis every week, and then I'm usually doing 1 to 2 live streams during the week because I don't live stream every day because then it doesn't keep you dependent on just my analysis because then you'll actually be able to take away what you're seeing me do so that you can do the analysis as well. So, I mean, I'm not hiding nothing. I'm showing you everything that goes into it. Same thing last week. Showed you everything that went into how I called that downside move to the T. And then again, I mean, I'm looking at metals here. This low key has me a little interested in it. I don't ever trade metals, but shit, they're giving a nice SMT down here at the lows. It's like a double SMT too because silver's taking out these lower lows down here that gold did not. And then again, this low here we just made into February. Silver made a new low. We have that upper weekly wick 50%. Like I said, I don't trade metals, but I'm personally favoring the upside move on gold and silver. I think it does look better on gold than silver, but that's my opinion. I mean, your real full strat live calls. I mean, like, yeah, whenever I'm live trading, if I'm taking something, I'll share it. But I mean, like, your like your real full strat. I mean, like, I don't hide anything. I tell everyone like everything that you need is on YouTube. Everything comes back. I just told you all everything that goes into it on here. The standard deviation, SMT, and your higher time frame levels. That's really the three things it always comes back to. Whenever you have those things aligning, like you have your standard deviation levels and SMT happening at your higher time frame level, that that right there is high probability to me. So let's see. I'm gonna hop off here in just a minute. We just had the market open. We're going lower right now, which is pretty nice because they have an SMT right here at our current high of day. They keep a little midnight manipulation. So here's what I'm thinking. We're at our midnight 3.5 to 4 standard deviations right here. I'd be watching this area. If we start to break below this standard deviations, this can get aggressive. Yeah. I feel like if we expand below this standard deviation level, we're likely going to be running for Friday's 9:30 low. That 9:30 open, our market open yesterday. If this area holds, they can still run back up because we're forming an SMT here at the low at the standard deviation levels. Don't we project the second leg of the SMT? Well, here on NQ, I really wouldn't because the highest high on NQ is right here. To me, this is that manipulation of the midnight open. To me, this second move, so that wouldn't be our midnight manipulation to me. To me, that would be our 2 a.m., that 4 hour candles manipulation because they open 2 a.m. right there. To me, that's more of that 2 a.m. candles manipulation. I'm trying to focus more with that midnight. So it's like, because I'm more of thinking like our daily power of 3 here. So it's like if we break below this, kind of more favoring for the day. Now we're going to draw down to that 9:30 low from Friday, which it could go lower than that. But to me, that's like the most obvious target if we broke below this standard deviation levels. But it's still holding up right now with SMT. This can run back at high day if that's holding. But like I said, I'm not the most interested in today. I feel like we're going to see a bit slower start to the week. We have some big news reports this week, non farm payroll on Wednesday and CPI on Friday. We also have some decent reports tomorrow as well, but they're not as big as the other ones. Yeah, we have high impact news every day this week except Monday. So this is an example of when I typically do avoid a Monday. So I don't usually avoid Mondays just because they're no news Mondays. But whenever we have these big news drivers midweek and end of week, we're more likely to see a slower start to the week and see most of the action the second half of the week. Not saying they couldn't give a decent move today, but it's more likely to see most of the action the second half of the week. So like I was saying earlier in the stream, like I think it would be nice if they gave like they kept maybe Monday somewhere around in here, and then maybe Tuesday going into Wednesday they did the manipulation to the upside up into my level, like that daily order block. And then if we're seeing the reaction there that I want, then we could see the downside move unfold. But that's really what I got here. I appreciate everyone tuning into the live. Hopefully, I'll do another one of these pretty soon. But hopefully, y'all got something from this. But I'm about to hop off here. Um, yeah, just some last thoughts. Put yourself in the highest probability conditions you can. If you if you feel like you've been struggling lately, I really recommend just taking a look at the higher time frame. Like it if you've been struggling throughout these weekly candles, ranges like that or something you really need to take note of. All right, guys. I'm off here. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Later, guys.